Imagine standing on the windswept plains of Laconia, the sun scorching the rocky hills, the air thick with the clash of bronze shields and the shouts of warriors honing their craft. This is Sparta, a city-state in ancient Greece where strength was the ultimate law, and weakness was a sin that could doom an entire society. What kind of culture would forge its people through punishments so harsh that they became legends, whispered in awe and fear across centuries? Today, we're plunging into the brutal heart of Spartan punishment, exploring the methods of discipline that shaped one of history's most fearsome societies. These aren't just stories of pain. They're mysteries of endurance, sacrifice, and an unrelenting quest for perfection that haunt us still. Whether you're driving through the night, working at your desk, or craving a tale that dances on the edge of awe and horror, settle in. Let's unravel the brutal training and Spartan punishment that defined ancient Greece and the secrets they left carved in the stones of Laconia. Let's begin with one of the most infamous Spartan punishments, the flogging at the altar of Artemis Orthia. Picture a dusty sanctuary in Sparta, around 500 BCE, where young men, barely past boyhood, stand in a solemn line, their backs bared to a restless crowd. The festival of Artemis Orthia was a sacred rite, but it was also a brutal test of endurance. Boys, some as young as 12, were whipped with leather straps called mastigophores, often studded with bone or metal, until their blood stained the altar's stones. The goal was not to kill but to test those who endured without crying out were celebrated, their scars a badge of honor in a society that revered resilience. Ancient sources, like Plutarch's Life of Lycurgus, describe the ritual as a harrowing spectacle, with crowds cheering as boys collapsed, their resolve unbroken. Some died under the lash, but to flinch or scream was to fail Sparta, a shame that lingered longer than any wound. This was Spartan punishment at its core, a trial that forged warriors through pain and sacrifice. The mechanics of the flogging were as calculated as they were brutal. The mastigophores were wielded by older Spartans, often mentors or trainers from the Agoge, who struck with precision to maximize pain without causing immediate death. The boys stood upright, forbidden to move or cry out, their silence a testament to their strength and loyalty to Sparta. The ritual was rooted in Spartan belief. Artemis, goddess of the hunt and protector of the young, demanded blood to ensure the city's survival. The flogging was both a sacrifice to the goddess and a test of worth, proving a boy's readiness to serve the state. But it was also a public spectacle, watched by families, elders, and peers, reinforcing the idea that pain was a path to honor. The altar, stained with generations of blood, stood as a monument to Sparta's unforgiving ethos, a reminder that weakness was not an option. This was brutal training that turned boys into warriors, their scars a map of their devotion to the state. Why was the flogging at Artemis Orthia so central to Spartan society? The answer lies in Sparta's relentless obsession with survival. Surrounded by enemies like Argos, Messenia, and later Athens, Sparta was a small city-state with a population dwarfed by its rivals. Yet it dominated Greece through its unmatched military prowess, a feat made possible only by its brutal discipline. The flogging ritual was a way to weed out the weak, to ensure that only the strongest survived to fight in Sparta's phalanxes. But it was also a psychological tool, embedding in every Spartan the idea that pain was temporary, but shame was eternal. The ritual created a culture of stoicism, where endurance was a virtue and weakness a crime. Boys who survived the flogging emerged not just as warriors but as symbols of Sparta's unbreakable spirit. This was ancient Greece at its most unforgiving, a world where Spartan punishment forged a society that could withstand any foe. Let's explore a specific story that brings this brutal training to life. Around 480 BCE, during the Persian Wars, a young Spartan named Aristodemus faced the flogging ritual as part of his training in the Agoge. According to the historian Herodotus, Aristodemus endured the whips without a sound, earning the admiration of his peers and elders. His scars were celebrated, marking him as a future hero of Sparta. But years later, at the Battle of Plataea, Aristodemus was one of the few survivors of a devastating Spartan defeat. Accused of cowardice for living when his comrades died, he faced a different kind of punishment: social ostracism, a fate more devastating than any whip. Shunned by his community, Aristodemus vanished, his fate a mystery. Some say he took his own life, unable to bear the shame of being labeled a Trecentessa trembler in Spartan terms. Others whisper he fled to a rival city, living as an outcast among enemies. The Spartans, notoriously secretive, left no record of his end. But the story spread, fueling tales of a warrior haunted by his own survival. This mystery of Spartan punishment reveals the power of shame to break even the strongest spirits in a society that demanded perfection. Now, let's turn to another chilling method: the Agoge, Sparta's brutal training system for boys. Imagine a boy of 7, torn from his mother's arms, sent to live in barracks where hunger, cold, and pain were his teachers. The Agoge was not just an education. It was a crucible designed to forge warriors through relentless discipline and hardship. Boys were starved, forced to steal food to survive, but punished with beatings if caught. They trained barefoot, even in the bitter winters of Laconia, their feet bloodied on rocky paths. Disobedience was met with flogging, starvation, or worse, some were sent into the wilderness to survive alone, a trial known as the Cryptia. Ancient sources, like Xenophon's Constitution of the Lacedaemonians, described the Agoge as a system that valued strength above all else, where failure meant expulsion or death. This was brutal training that stripped boys of their childhood, turning them into weapons for Sparta's endless wars. The mechanics of the Agoge were relentless and unforgiving. Boys were organized into groups or agili, under the command of older youths who enforced discipline with an iron hand. Training included mock battles where injuries were common, and endurance tests, like running barefoot across the rocky banks of the Eurotas River. Food was deliberately scarce, forcing boys to steal from local farms or markets, a test of cunning and survival. But theft came with a brutal catch. If caught, the punishment was severe flogging until the skin broke, starvation for days, or public humiliation before the entire Agoge. The Cryptia, a secret rite for elite trainees, was even darker. Young men were sent into the countryside at night, armed only with daggers, to hunt and kill Sparta's enslaved population. This was not just a test of skill. It was a lesson in loyalty, teaching Spartans to value the state above morality, to see the helots as threats to be eliminated. The Cryptia was a shadowy practice, rarely documented, but its terror kept the helot population in constant fear, ensuring Sparta's dominance. This was Spartan punishment at its most brutal, a system that shaped a society through pain, fear, and sacrifice. Why was the Agoge so central to Spartan society? It was the foundation of Sparta's military might, producing warriors who could face any enemy without flinching. The Agoge ensured that every Spartan male was a soldier, their loyalty to the state absolute, their bodies and minds honed for war. But it also served a darker purpose: control. By subjecting boys to brutal training, Sparta created a society where dissent was impossible, where every citizen was conditioned to obey without question. The Cryptia, in particular, was a tool of terror, keeping the helot population outnumbering Spartans 10-1 in check while hardening Spartan youths into killers. The system was designed to eliminate weakness, but it also created a culture of paranoia, where every citizen was both a warrior and a potential threat. This was ancient Greece at its most extreme, a society where brutal training was the price of survival in a world of constant conflict. Let's dive into another story, this one from the 4th century BCE. A young Spartan named Clearchus, training in the Agoge, was caught stealing food, a common test of cunning, but one that demanded stealth. His failure led to a public flogging, his back torn open before his peers. According to Plutarch, Clearchus survived the beating but was later found dead in the wilderness, his body unmarked by wounds. The Spartans recorded his death as an accident, but whispers spread of darker possibilities. Was he sent on a secret Cryptia mission and killed by vengeful helots? Or did he take his own life, unable to bear the shame of failure in a society that prized perfection? The Spartans, ever secretive, buried the truth, but the story fueled rumors of a cursed Agoge, where the gods themselves judged the weak. This tale of Spartan punishment shows how even the strongest could be broken by a system that demanded flawlessness, leaving behind mysteries that linger like shadows. Let's explore the psychological impact of these punishments. Spartan discipline wasn't just about sculpting the body, it was about forging the mind. The flogging at Artemis Orthia and the Agoge were designed to instill stoicism, to teach Spartans to endure pain without complaint, to suppress fear and emotion. The public nature of these punishments, watched by families, elders, and peers, amplified their effect, creating a culture where shame was a greater punishment than pain. Boys learned to value the state above themselves, to see pain as a teacher, to fear disgrace more than death. But this came at a profound cost. Some scholars argue that Spartan discipline created a society of repressed emotions, where trauma was passed down through generations, shaping warriors who were both invincible and broken. Others believe it produced unmatched resilience, a people who could face any adversity without flinching. Either way, Spartan punishment shaped a society where strength was survival, and weakness was an unforgivable sin, leaving a legacy of both awe and tragedy. Let's consider another tale, this one from the Peloponnesian War, around 420 BC. A Spartan warrior named Gylippus, a product of the Agoge, was accused of betraying Sparta by secretly negotiating with Athens. His punishment was not physical but social. He was exiled, his name erased from Spartan records, his existence wiped from the city's memory. But here's the mystery. Years later, graffiti praising Gylippus appeared on the walls of Sparta's agora, suggesting he had supporters who believed in his innocence. Was this the work of loyal comrades, risking their own lives to honor a fallen hero? Or was it a deliberate provocation by Athens, sowing discord in Sparta's ranks? The Spartans destroyed the graffiti, but the story persisted, hinting at cracks in their ironclad society. This tale of Spartan punishment reveals the power of shame to destroy even the mightiest warrior, leaving behind questions that echo through history. Let's examine the role of religion in Spartan discipline. The Spartans were deeply religious, believing their gods Artemis, Ares, Apollo demanded strength and sacrifice. The flogging at Artemis Orthia was a sacred rite, a blood offering to the goddess to ensure Sparta's protection. The Cryptia was seen as a divine test, purifying the state by eliminating threats like rebellious helots. Priests often oversaw these punishments, their chants and rituals framing the pain as a sacred act, a way to align Sparta with the will of the gods. This religious framework justified the brutality, turning pain into a path to divine favor. But it also created a paradox. If the gods demanded such cruelty, what did that say about their nature? Spartan myths, like the story of Lycurgus, the legendary lawgiver who established the Agoge, reinforced this idea, depicting discipline as a divine mandate that separated Sparta from lesser cities. Yet these same myths hinted at divine judgment, suggesting that excessive brutality could anger the gods, a tension that haunted Spartan society. Let's dive into another mystery, this one from the 5th century BCE, during a festival of Artemis Orthia. A young boy named Theras collapsed during the flogging ritual, his body covered in wounds, his silence unbroken until the end. The Spartans declared him a hero, his death a testament to his courage. But his family claimed his spirit haunted the sanctuary, his cries heard at night, disturbing the rituals. Priests performed offerings to appease the ghost, burning herbs and chanting hymns, but the hauntings continued, leading to the temporary closure of the altar. Was this a genuine supernatural event, or a story crafted to explain a failed ritual that shook Spartan confidence? The Spartans, wary of omens and divine displeasure, left few records, but the tale spread, fueling rumors that Artemis herself rejected the sacrifice. This mystery shows how Spartan punishment could blur the line between the mortal and the divine, creating legends that outlived the victims and challenged the city's rigid beliefs. Let's explore the social hierarchy of Sparta and how it shaped its punishments. Spartan society was rigidly divided. Full citizens, or Spartiates, were the elite, trained from birth to be warriors in the Agoge. Below them were the Perioikoi, free non-citizens who handled trade and crafts, and the Helots, an enslaved population that outnumbered Spartans 10-1. Punishments like flogging and the Agoge were reserved for Spartiates, designed to forge them into perfect soldiers who could defend the state. Helots faced harsher fates, often killed during the Cryptia to maintain control and prevent rebellion. This hierarchy made Spartan punishment a tool of social order, ensuring the Spartiates remained dominant while the Helots lived in constant fear. But it also created tensions, as Helot revolts, like the Messenian uprising of the 7th century BCE, threatened Sparta's stability, hinting at the limits of brutal training as a means of control. The Cryptia, in particular, was a double-edged sword, strengthening Spartan youths but fueling resentment among the Helots, who dreamed of freedom. Let's consider another story, this one from the 6th century BCE. A young Spartan named Leotychides, training in the Agoge, was sent on a Cryptia mission to hunt Helots in the hills of Laconia. He never returned, and his body was found in a ravine, marked with wounds that didn't match Spartan weapons. The Spartans recorded his death as an accident, but whispers spread of darker possibilities. Was he killed by Helots in revenge for the Cryptia's brutality? Or was he betrayed by a rival within the Agoge, jealous of his prowess? The Spartans buried the incident, but the story fueled tales of a curse on the Cryptia, suggesting that even the gods disapproved of its secrecy and violence. This tale of Spartan punishment highlights the paranoia that permeated their society, where even the strongest could fall to hidden enemies, leaving behind mysteries that haunted the city. Let's examine the tools of Spartan punishment, as they were as symbolic as they were brutal. The mastigophores used in the flogging at Artemis Orthia were crafted from leather, sometimes studded with bone or metal, designed to inflict maximum pain without killing instantly. The Agoge relied on the harsh environment of Laconia rocky terrain, cold rivers, and sparse rations as tools of discipline, forcing boys to adapt or perish. In the Cryptia, trainees used simple weapons like daggers or short spears, designed for stealth and efficiency in their nighttime hunts. These tools were not just practical. They were extensions of Sparta's ethos, representing the belief that pain was a teacher, that hardship forged strength. The trainers, often veteran warriors who had survived the Agoge themselves, were revered but feared, their role blending mentorship with cruelty. They were the enforcers of Spartan punishment, ensuring that every boy emerged as a warrior or not at all. This combination of tools and enforcers made Spartan discipline a system of unrelenting efficiency, a machine that produced soldiers but also sowed fear. Let's dive into another mystery, this one from the 4th century BCE, during a Spartan campaign against Thebes. A group of young warriors, fresh from the Agoge, was punished for cowardice after fleeing a skirmish. Their punishment was a public flogging, their backs scarred before the entire army. But one warrior, named Sphodrias, survived the flogging only to disappear during a night march soon after. His comrades claimed he was taken by the gods, his body vanishing into the darkness without a trace. Was this a desertion, a desperate bid to escape Sparta's unforgiving judgment? Or was it a cover for a darker fate, like murder by rivals within the ranks? The Spartans, ever secretive, left no record. But the story spread, fueling tales of divine judgment or betrayal. This mystery underscores the power of Spartan punishment to spark fear and folklore, even among the bravest warriors, leaving questions that linger like echoes in Laconia's hills. Let's explore the role of women in Spartan discipline, a lesser-known but crucial aspect of their society. Unlike other Greek city-states, Spartan women were trained in physical endurance, though not in the Agoge. They underwent rigorous exercises running, wrestling, and danceto ensure they bore strong children for the state. But they also faced punishments for failing their duties. A woman who shirked her role as a mother or wife could face public humiliation, such as being shaved bald or paraded through the streets. One story, recorded by Plutarch, tells of a woman named Siniska, who defied Spartan norms by training as a charioteer. When she won at the Olympic Games around 396 BCE, she was celebrated, but rumors suggest she faced secret punishments for stepping beyond her role. Did the elders flog her in private, or was she ostracized by her peers? The records are silent, but the story hints at the unseen pressures of Spartan discipline, even for women who dared to break the mold. Let's consider another tale, this one from the time of King Leonidas around 480 BCE, before the Battle of Thermopylae. A helot named Eurycles was accused of aiding Persian spies, a crime that threatened Sparta's survival. He was sentenced to a secret Cryptia-style execution, his body disposed of in the wilderness to avoid public unrest. But Spartan scouts later reported seeing a figure resembling Eurycles near the battlefield, warning of Persian movements. Was this a ghost, seeking redemption for his betrayal? Or was it a living helot, perhaps freed by allies, risking his life to aid Sparta? The Spartans dismissed the sightings as omens, but the story persisted, suggesting that even their brutal punishments could not erase the will to resist. This tale shows how Spartan discipline, meant to crush rebellion, could instead inspire legends of defiance that lingered in the collective memory. Let's reflect on the cultural impact of Spartan punishment. Beyond its role in forging warriors, Spartan discipline shaped art, poetry, and even humor in ancient Greece. Poets like Tertius celebrated the Spartan ideal of endurance, their verses praising warriors who bore their scars with pride. Yet other Greeks, like the Athenians, mocked Sparta's obsession with pain, calling them barbarians disguised as Greeks. For the Spartans, punishment was a way of life, a constant reminder that strength was their identity. But it also isolated them, creating a society admired and feared but rarely understood. This duality, Spartan punishment as both a source of strength and a barrier to connection, made it a cornerstone of their legacy, a force that shaped their triumphs and their tragedies. Let's dive into one final mystery, this one from the 5th century BCE, during the aftermath of the Messenian revolt. A group of helots, accused of plotting another uprising, were subjected to a secret punishment. They were sent into the Taygetus Mountains, where Spartan trainees hunted them during the Cryptia. But one helot, named Helios, was said to have survived, his body never found. Years later, stories emerged of a shadowy figure leading helot rebellions, bearing scars from Spartan whips. Was Helios a real survivor, or a myth created to inspire resistance? The Spartans hunted for him but found no trace, leaving a mystery that fueled fear and defiance. This tale of Spartan punishment shows how even the most brutal methods could spark legends of survival, challenging the city's iron grip. As we weave through these tales, it's clear that Spartan punishment was more than discipline. It was the soul of Sparta itself. Flogging forged warriors. The Agoge shaped minds. The Cryptia enforced fear. But these methods also left behind mysteries-haunted sanctuaries, vanished warriors, cursed rituals that reveal the cracks in Sparta's armor. Why did the Spartans embrace such brutality? Perhaps it was their way of surviving in a world of constant war, of forging a society that could withstand any enemy. Or perhaps, in their quest for strength, they unleashed horrors that still echo in our collective memory, a testament to the cost of perfection. Now, as we draw this journey to a close, let's step back and ask, what do these harsh methods tell us about Sparta? They reveal a society obsessed with perfection, yet haunted by the fear of failure. They show us warriors who lived as heroes, yet faced punishment for the slightest flaw. And they remind us that even in the heart of ancient Greece, humanity wrestled with its darkest impulses. Spartan punishment was not just discipline. It was a story, a warning, a mystery that shaped a legend. Its echoes, bloodied altars, ghostly warriors, silent betrayals linger as reminders of a time when strength was carved in pain and sacrifice. If this dive into the brutal training of Sparta gripped you, I invite you to join us for more journeys into the shadows of history. Hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, and share your thoughts below. What's the most chilling Spartan punishment you've heard of? Do you think the Spartans were cruel, or were they simply forged by necessity? If you're hungry for more dark history, check out our next video on the brutal tortures of ancient China, where the past hides even more secrets. Until then, keep exploring the mysteries that shape our world. Stay curious, stay brave, and let the stories of history haunt your dreams.